Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Jeff. I play guitar and do the production for the band Wretched. So we're going to be going over our band head unit and how this functions for our in-ears, running our kick trigger, our samples. This is an all-in-one solution that's been working out really great for all of us. So starting from the top, we have our power conditioner. This is where everything plugs in. So next down the line, we have the Scarlett 18i20, and the great thing about this is you can program it to change what you want the inputs and outputs to do. So the way that this works for our in-ear systems, we have what's called the X Vibes. I believe these are the U4s. So you have the transmitter, and then you have the receiver. So your in-ear headphones plug into the receiver, and this is what transmits the audio information to this receiver. So underneath the Scarlett, we have a XLR and 1/4-inch patch panel. We have labels for each of our names. So when we set up, we turn on our transmitter and plug that into your respective name. And now you take your receiver, plug your headphones in. When we press play on our session, all of our click tracks work. The 1/4-inch next to the XLR inputs are for our individual instruments if we want to hear ourselves. So we use quad cortexes. So the quad cortexes have multiple outputs. So we have a PA tone and a cab tone. We output the PA tone to house, but we also output our, cab sim tone to here. So because all of these inputs again have been programmed, when we plug our individual instruments into the 1/4-inch portion of this, we now also have our individual instruments in our ears. So this in action. So we have the quad cortex, and on the back here, if our PA tone or cab sim tone is coming out of send 1, come out of send 1, and then we just plug into our instrument portion of our in-ear system. So now I have my own personal guitar in my ears. And then obviously all the other bitch. And then we have the other outputs, obviously. So out one, I know for me, out one left is my PA tone that actually goes out to house. Another output that goes to our cab, and the one that I just showed. That's how our personal rigs function with this in-ear system. So from the top, we're going to turn this on. That's our power conditioner, which will provide power to all of our devices mounted in here. We'll turn on the Scarlett. Our labels here, I think we had, I'm pretty sure these numbers do line up with our individual, of what they actually go to for these inputs. So somebody is 4, somebody's 3, well, click is 3. So this is how we can control the individual volume of whatever we have going through the Scarlett. So if we open this up here, this is where we have all of our X Vibes, the receivers and transmitters. As soon as this gets turned on, they are all charging all the time. So first thing we do when we get to a venue is find a place to set this up, get it plugged in, so we always have charged in-ears. As we saw before, we turn on our transmitter, plug it into our input on this patch panel. And then from the bottom here, we'll go over what's going on down here. So this is Maddie's, our drummer, his trigger module. This can take custom samples, any audio files. It's been super reliable for us. So this cable goes out to his actual trigger input that's on his kick drum. This is our cable for what plugs into the iPad. This is a very beefy, long cable. We've gone through so many cables, and it's finally at a point to where we haven't had any malfunctions yet, thankfully. Normally when we open this up, this gets taken out like this, unraveled, and plugs into the iPad. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go behind the unit so I can show you guys how everything is routed and functioning back there. All right, so for the simple stuff, we have 2 DI boxes. One is for the kick trigger and the other is for the samples. These are what goes out to house. These are all mounted in here, so we don't have to worry about trying to dig them out when we do open this up. But it makes it super, super fast, seamless, because all we need to do is just tell front of house, this is our kick trigger, these are our samples, and they have XLR cables, and they'll just plug right into there, and then we're done at that point with cables going out to house. The actual cable that plugs into the iPad, this one, it's a Y cable, so it's got 2 1/4-inch outputs. One of them provides the click track, and the other provides the actual samples that need to go out to house. So one end of that, this cable, is this 1/4-inch, so this plugs into our samples DI box. And then the other side of that is our click. So up here on the back of the Focusrite, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I've programmed these inputs and outputs. So this one I programmed, this is input 3, I programmed specifically to be the click track. So I programmed that input to send out of all outputs. So all outputs for our XVIs. So that's what all these cables are for. The instruments and the XVIs, they all have patch cables that go down to this patch panel and go into the Focusrite. Let's say that I wanted to hear Maddie's kick trigger in my in-ears as well, I can program it to do that. Or if I wanted to hear Brad, the other guitarist, if I wanted to hear his guitar as well, I can also do that. So then we have the kick trigger patch cable that has its own input up there. Trigger cable, we went over that, and then one small patch cable going to the DI box. And obviously our power conditioner up here has everything plugged in. We secured everything pretty well because you never know when you're driving if things bounce around and something gets unplugged, because it has happened to us and we're just like, why isn't it working? And you're trying to set up on stage. So it's a really good idea if you're going to build something similar to secure as much as you possibly can with wires so things just don't be, flying around all over the place in transit.